The next case is State of Ohio versus James Mauricio. It looks like the State of Ohio has waived oral argument today, so it'll just be you giving us a 15-minute presentation. The arguments are being recorded. You'll have 15 minutes to present your argument. Please introduce yourself, keep your voice up, and remain behind the podium. That's important for the recording that you remain behind the podium. You should not use the name of children, minors, and victims during your argument. You can refer to them by initials or terms like the child. We have read your briefs and we're prepared to hear your 15-minute argument when you're ready.
May it please the court, I'm James Mauricio, and I'm representing myself pro se, defendant, pro se, appellant. This case stems from a call from Gerard reporting suspicious activity, and he specifically stated he doesn't know if the people are moving in or moving out. The arrest was made about 4 minutes and 55 seconds into the video, minus 30 seconds for the first 30 seconds are muted. So I look at it as about 4 minutes and 13 seconds from the time he says hello and the time that he arrests me. Up until that point, the officers, Brent Payne and David Reese, didn't identify a crime. They didn't accuse me, or they didn't investigate a crime.
You tell us that the officer's testimony and the videotape are inconsistent. How are they inconsistent?
If you refer to the record and the trial court audio, you guys don't listen to the audio, you just have the transcript, right?
If there's a video, we don't see an audio tape, we have a written transcript. If there's a videotape of the body cam enter, that maybe is as evidence, and then we can look at the body camera that you're talking about.
Okay, well.
If that helps you understand what's going on here.
During the trial, the body camera was stopped at about 8 minutes, and there's 16 minutes total in the body camera footage that they showed that was Brent Payne's body camera. And David Reese's body camera was about a half hour. It starts from the time that they get out of their cars until I get to the Lorain County Jail. And the reason the officer's testimony is inconsistent with the the body cam, is because in the first 5 minutes of the transcript, you can correlate the two. I hope you get to see the video. It is on my YouTube channel, and I hope you've seen it. But if you correlate his testimony, the first 5 minutes I counted about 13 mistruths, or I call them lies. And I stopped counting at like about the first 5 minutes, but it's been over a year, and I've been able to go over every second of the trial audio, the transcript. When, as a matter of fact, this courthouse, the lady I hired to file the transcript, she took like over 6 months, and I got that receipt to do it. Like I could have did that in an hour or something. But it's very conflicting, the things that the officer says and the way that the trial court and the prosecutor went about my pre-trial, the bench trial. I hope that answered your question. I really hope that you get to see the body camera footage.
So if I understand then, at least some of the body cam footage was introduced at trial and was an exhibit at trial. They played that at the trial and went over that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had multiple issues in my brief, and main one was credibility and some judicial errors that I believe there were errors. And like when the court limited my playing of the body camera footage, like I said, they played it about 8 minutes and 55 seconds or so, or about 8 minutes. And they didn't rewind it or fast forward when I asked, but the court mentioned in its closing statement that that the things that I was trying to argue during the case were exculpatory or didn't matter because the arrest already happened. But the prosecution played after my arrest, after I was handcuffed, they played, and the judge used the information that came after that, which is including that I was driving under suspension, but this wasn't a traffic stop. I believe those officers treated my encounter like it was a traffic stop, and which is one of the reasons why they demanded ID. The big thing was Gerard, the neighbor, didn't report an actual crime. The dispatcher apparently on my record, there were some things when I came to this courthouse to look inside the record, I didn't see police reports. I didn't see some of the things that they gave me in discovery. And during the trial, I mentioned the police report. I asked them to read it, and they didn't allow me to read it. They didn't allow anybody to read it. So the things that were said in the police report is another reason why there's discrepancies from the police report and the body camera footage he wrote. Officer Payne wrote on the police report about being there at that residence in 2021 and somehow referring that to probable cause. He also said during his testimony that I tried to walk away multiple times. And if you look at the video, I didn't try to walk away at all. It was all in the front yard, which was private property. The only person really that did an investigation, that started an investigation, was David Reese when he walked up behind the truck to run the plates. I mentioned in my trial that my keys came up missing before I went to jail. When I arrived at the Lorain County Jail, and there's an intake room, I asked the CO that took me in to look inside the property bag and show me if my truck keys was in there. And on the truck keys was a small engine motor key. And those keys weren't in that plastic bag. And that was one of the strong reasons that I tried and put so much effort into this appeal. I'd like to point out something troubling else on the record is Officer Payne, and through his testimony and through his paperwork, mentioned David Reese, and David Reese doesn't have any reports in my discovery. I hope somehow you get the full discovery. It's not too big, but it's not too small either. The discovery was the court actually tried to have me sit through 2 trials in one day, and I begged and demanded for a continuance of both because they didn't give me my discovery. It's all on my YouTube channel, the videos, it's all recorded from every time I had to go to City Hall and deal with the prosecutor's office when they told me to come back when I filed for the discovery. But they gave it to me in the middle of the bench trial, which I had a warrant for, a traffic case. When they went in my pockets and took my ID out of my pocket, I dropped my keys, both set of keys right there. And in the video that I will upload, you can see him looking at my keys on the ground, and he makes 2 trips to Brent Payne. And the second trip, if you look at the video, what's the second trip? The first trip that he made, he gave him 1 set of keys, which was Amy's house keys. Rest in peace, Amy Evans. She died January 1st.
Have you requested from the police the return of your keys?
I made multiple complaints. The judge said it was irrelevant how many sets of keys I had. Brent Payne said originally.
Did you request it outside of your trial?
I mentioned that my keys came up missing the first time that I went to a bench trial. As soon as I got out of jail, I made my official complaint with the city and with the city police department, and it was very extensive, very clear about my rights violation, my Fourth Amendment rights violation, mishandling and loss or stolen of my keys, and him speeding with me. Cuffs were too tight. Officer Reese was speeding with me in the car. That's on his body camera. You see him going all the way to the jail from where he arrested me, traveling over speeding, and I'm yelling at him in the back seat, cuffed up. Why are you speeding? So,
Sir, let me ask you a question. My understanding is all emanated from the fact that you were helping a friend move.
Amy Evans was my friend. She's no longer here.
I'm sorry to hear that.
She's a dear friend. She had like 7 animals. Her house smelled bad. She had some health issues, and she couldn't keep the house. So I spent the whole St. Patty's Day making multiple trips to the storage unit. It says that in my first, as soon as I talked to Brent Payne.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear about your friend. I guess I'm trying to figure out, what do you think the police, how should they handle that situation?
They have unlimited resources at the fingertips in their vehicles, over the radio. David Reese, patrolman, whatever, he started on the radio, and it's clear in both of the body camera footages that he ran the plates on that vehicle that was there. And he also asked dispatch, what do you have on this address? And right after dispatch responded, her last thing was Amy Evans and Joseph Barber, is when I told Brent Payne that I don't have to give my whole key for nothing. He says, you do. I said, not for nothing, I don't. He says, you do. And I said, what are you gonna do if I don't? He says, all right, you know what, turn around, put your hands behind your back. And right at that point is when dispatcher was telling him over the radio that Amy Evans and Joseph Barber, but with the way that David Reese had a start, but Brent Payne, he could have either talked a little bit more or used his computer or his radio, called Amy, got a hold, see what's her number. I was talking to her on the phone the whole time. Like, I was talking to her when I seen spotlights roll up, and my little dog is in there, and in the footage, the officer never goes inside the house. He goes into the foyer, and there's a controversial moment where those two are facing, their body cameras are facing away from each other. And so that's the second time where David Reese meets up, but my dog was left in there. I was on the phone with her. I offered him to talk to her. He could have asked her any information. She was over the phone saying that she can verify.
And this was the tenant, the one that passed away?
Yes, she passed away in January. I took all her stuff for St. Patty's Day, helped her move out the whole St. Patty's Day, and that was one of the last loads of the bulky stuff. And yeah, the body worn camera proves the opposite of maybe at least 5 or 10 things that he said about my keys, where he testified there was only 1 set, but in the video you can see me lock the truck with 1 key because it's snowing and raining and we're talking. So, and I see David Reese going behind there. I don't want him doing nothing, searching the truck, but I lock the keys, shut the door, and you can see me with those truck keys. And then later on, after he's not listening to me or Amy, and he keeps on asking me about my ID, I pull out Amy's keys, and they're both in my hand. At one point, they're both in this hand. Right before he arrests me, they're here behind me, so they hit the ground. So I'm missing those truck keys, had to pay for those. They talked about, there's a meeting session where the court didn't allow me to fast forward the tape, which was important to me. There's a mute session where Officer Brent Payne mutes his body camera and he talks to David Reese, but David Reese might have missed his mute button or didn't have his on. Regardless, they have a conversation and David Reese says, well, we don't have / moving in or / breaking in, but Gerard never said that. And as a pro se defendant in that court, I've known that court, that specific court, trier of fact. I've known him since I was 18. Like my first speeding tickets and my first felonies were sent to this court. So I believe there's bias in there in that courthouse. Have you had, just for the case, defending his own officers since 1987, and the officers on the force since for 13 years. So,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're out of time. So if you could just take the next 30 seconds and wrap up your argument. Thank you.
okay. There's a lot of omissions in the report and in trial, omissions about certain facts. I hope that you look over the complete record and see that there was use of discretion in the trial court. My complaint has merit. I was driven recklessly to the back of the car, and they demanded my ID, and he arrested me because I questioned. I was asking legal questions. I couldn't testify. I couldn't test Payne's credibility in real time during court because of the limiting that the court did. I was asking questions about my keys, and they shielded the record from the beginning from my discovery request, pre-trial. So, respectfully, I request this court to reverse the conviction and dismiss the charges with prejudice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. The court will take this matter under advisement and issue a ruling in due course. The clerk of courts will mail you a copy of the decision on the day it's released, and also the decisions are posted on the Ohio Supreme Court website. Thank you.